Hi, my name is Robert Hollis, and I want to thank you very much for taking the time to get these videos called Unstuck. The biggest thing about these videos is very simply to help you get unstuck. See, a lot of things are going to happen where when people first try to become successful, people don't realize exactly how much programming we have of where we just constantly are told, listen, just go out there and go to school and get good grades. Then from there, guess what? Some choose to go out and get some more education. Then from there, we go out and get a good job. And you guys have all heard the story that you go get a good job, and then you just constantly work on that job until you, guess what? You're rich. You're financially done. We all know that that's not true. Now, it is true for some people, but the important thing, if you're watching this video, is it right for you? See, I want you to understand is, first of all, congratulations, man. When I say that, I mean that. Because do you realize that there's less than 5% of the people in the world that will even take the time to probably make it through this video series? Something will actually, stop them. I call it ADD, always dealing with distractions. And that's also part of getting unstuck. It's going to be very important to see if you can actually watch this video series without typing on your computer while you're watching this on the internet. It's going to be very important to see if you could do it without texting on your phone, or you're just going to listen to my voice. Because one of the things that I see, because we're getting so bombarded with so many different medias and all kinds of things that are making us distracted, that people don't have the ability to focus. And when you can't focus on what you're listening to, people miss parts. And what if you miss the most important parts that can make you successful? So the one thing I want you to understand is this series, I'm going to cover some really quick stuff, is first of all, in this series, we're going to talk about is you can't change who you are or what's going on in your life if you don't change what you think. Now, I know a lot of people that are watching this video might go, well, I know everything. Well, if you know everything, all you need to do is just go to another website and see if you can learn from them. Now, I'm not trying to be mean or I'm not trying to be braggish here, but it's so hilarious how many people I walk into that already tell me they know everything, but yet they don't have the lifestyle. They don't give to charity. They don't have time to do what they'd love to do with the people that they want to. They don't have the car that they want. They're not wearing the clothes that they want. They're not taking care of their family. But I know there's some people that are watching this right now where you think you know it all. And my question to you very simply is, if you really truly know everything you need to be successful, and I'll even cover that word, successful, means a lot to a lot of different people. Everyone that's watching this has a different belief of what they may think success is. And success might be just spending more time with your family. But you got to first of all understand that the people that already think they know everything, then why aren't you doing something to actually prove that you do know something? Now, again, this video series might get to you and might not, because again, you know everything. Then there's another section that's watching this video. Those are the people that are comfortable. Now, we all know that comfortable people really don't want to do anything else. But hopefully this information will give you enough where you can go, wow, I didn't know that. That makes sense. And hopefully you can give back to humanity by very simply steering it to somebody else. Because it's all about timing. You're going to hear about that a lot. Another thing is that a lot of people just are people pleasers. They all at their point in their life, they just don't want to upset anybody. They don't want to upset the apple cart, you know what I mean? They don't want to rock the boat. And so the people that are always trying to please everybody, then what you're really doing is you're living the life that other people want for you. You haven't taken the time to figure out what you want. Thomas Edison says an incredible thing. And again, I'll talk a lot about personal development during this series. But Thomas Edison said, I can help anybody get anything they want in life. I just can't find anybody who knows what they want. And it's amazing, as I mentor people and I teach people, I always ask them, they say, oh man, I love this. Now that you're showing me how to do this, I'm going to make all kinds of money. And I go, what are you going to do with it? And they go, I don't know. Well, I can guarantee you that money is not going to come to you. Happiness is not going to come to you. Health is not going to come to you. Fame and fortune, relationships are not going to come to you if you don't know what you want. And that's a part of changing your mind. We'll talk about that. Another thing we're going to talk about is mentorship. You got to find a group of people to listen to. And when I mean listen to them, you got to make sure they're documented first. Man, I'll tell you, man, if there's anything that upsets me more, one of my pet peeves is there's this whole group of people out there that are teaching people how to be successful, and they have absolutely no documentation whatsoever. Now, here's what cracks me up. I recently seen a post on Facebook, is how can a person be a life coach when if you really looked at their life, they don't have one? What I mean about that is, yes, they're living, but when you looked at how they relate with their spouse and their children, and you know, whether or not they're on their second or third marriage, how their kids relate to them, if their kids don't want anything to do with them, or they think their parent is a jerk. It could be, you know, finances. It could be where they live. It could be how much they give back to community and charity. But it's hilarious how these people all miss one step. I believe that you need to be successful before you start teaching people how to be successful. Now, here's one thing. I think it's pretty awesome that those people actually take that step and have that kind of courage to do that. But here's the point for this video. This video is for you to get unstuck. And as I go through these 3 videos, here's something you got to watch that you do. And I know that you do it. I used to do it. Is you buy into people saying, well, you should do this, and I think you should do this, or you should go with this company, or, you know, why don't you do this? And no one ever bothers to ask. I don't know what's in us as a human being, but we won't look at them and say, hey, listen, you know, I'm about ready to spend a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort on learning a new trade, changing my mind, going from being an auto mechanic now to being an entrepreneur. And before I listen to you, is there any way possible that I could see your back office, maybe a couple of copies of your checks? Can I see some documentation? Could I come over to your home? You know, can I look through your closet? Can I see your tax returns? You know, can I see how much money you're giving to charity? See, why don't we do that? I don't know. But if you were, bottom line, if you're going to learn how to play guitar, or you're going to learn how to, I don't know, go bowling, if you're going to learn how to do anything, you need to be intelligent and smart enough to seek out the best people that are doing the best. And it's documented. So right now, even in the company that I'm in, there's individuals within my company that are walking around saying they're making tens of thousands of dollars, that they got these huge groups, and everyone's listening to them, and they're teaching them the wrong stuff, undocumented stuff. And the person goes out there and tries that stuff, and of course they're frustrated and they get no results, and then they blame the companies, they blame the products, they blame everything but them. And we'll talk about that one too, because that's something else you got to change. But bottom line, you got to understand is you have to seek out the right mentorship. It's very, very important. Another thing I'm going to cover on these videos is how to realize your pop, your aha moment. It's going to be something that I recently understood from being successful and also learning from other people, is I would ask them, you know, what's your significant emotional event? What was the aha moment where you knew that you could do this? And I'm going to go in a little more detail into that too. And the last one, of course, is asking for help. See, it's amazing that I don't know what we were brought up in a society that basically told us, listen, you know what, you don't ask for help. You got to be independent. You know, it's weak to ask for help. But the most successful people on the planet were apprenticed. They were actually worked under and learned from other people. So I really briefly went through a number of things that I'm going to cover on these, and I wanted to cover that up at the beginning. And now what I'm going to do is start going into detail. Also, because of the limited time of these 3 video series, I want you to understand that I'm going to consistently doing more and more training. And so what you want to do is constantly plug in. If I'm not the kind of person that you can relate to, or for whatever reason, I'll teach you how to find true mentorship of documented individuals so that you can change the way you think. Now, again, going back, I was talking about a key phrase. In fact, we're actually doing a book right now. It's soon to be released. And the whole documentation of this is, how do you know that? How do you know that? And believe it or not, that's going to be the title of the book. I actually have the domain, howdoyouknowthat.com. Now, the reason I bring that up is a lot of people believe things that are just flat out not true. Now, if you, This cracks me up, and I hope that you understand that I'm just acting like you're here one-on-one, and I'm just treating you the way I would treat a brand new person that wants to learn how to be successful. You'll see as I go through this series too, it's not about one certain industry. If you apply these things that I'm going to share with you, you're not only going to find your aha, your purpose, but you're going to be successful, and it might not be even in the company that I'm with. So that's why these are very, very important. So again, the one thing I want you to understand is you just got to figure out, how do you know that? I'll give you a couple of neat examples. See, a lot of people, one of my dear friends, a guy named John Stossel, I actually was blessed to be on 2020 with John Stossel, which was really, really fun with Barbara Ottles and Hugh Downs. And John Stossel has this thing where he constantly comes out and he challenges people because we heard that certain things are the way they are, and then he turns around and says, listen, no, they're not. And when he gives you the information, you go, he's right. I'll give you a neat example. Everyone right now is talking about, and I'll talk about the United States, but I know these will go worldwide. But, you know, a lot of people go, oh, we're just so overpopulated. Oh, my God, it's just, can you believe how populated it is? Well, I don't know if you've been on an air flight or drive from Las Vegas to L.A., or you drive cross country, but it seems to me like there's a lot of areas where there's not people. I've driven and flown over areas where there's miles and miles, if not hundreds of miles, of no homes. You know, so we always hear how overpopulated it is. Is it? And so, again, think about some of the things that you might believe and now you don't. A neat example is when I was young, you know, my mom used to say, hey, listen, put a jacket on. Don't go outside, it's cold. You got to put a jacket on because if you don't, you're going to get a cold. Well, do you realize just something simple like that is you can't get a cold from body temperature. Getting a cold, getting the flu is a virus. And it might be where you touch or something, but once you get the virus, it's not based on whether or not your body was in that kind of temperature. What else is there that you just know that you know that you know, and then all of a sudden you get a little older and you go, that's not true. Now, this might not be for you, but for me. And I started out this video this way, is I believed 1,000% that the way to be successful was to go find a trade, learn it, master it. Learn, 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 master it some more. Because as you learned and became good at whatever you did, and this could be for sports, for me it was being a mechanic, but as I continued to work up, and you can see some of the accolades behind me, you know, I worked myself up, I became a master automotive technician by getting my certification, and that gave me 10 cents an hour raises. Wow. And so now I'm going out and I'm working that job, and there was something that was messed up because I was a mechanic based on my physical ability, but also my mental ability. And so now all of a sudden I'm working out there, and it was always based on my hours. So whatever hours I put in, I got paid for. Well, what happened if I got sick? Well, you know, I didn't get sick days. Well, I didn't get paid for them anyway. You take vacations, you know? And so I'm out there trying to provide this dream of America, this America dream. And again, I know this is going to go worldwide, but you know, the dream of being above average. No one on this video ever went to high school, or, you know, some people like my friend, Fred Herzog, and my son, finishing school was not an option for them. They were bored out of their mind. I constantly got things all the time about my son that he was a daydreamer. Yeah, well, maybe he was bored, but he wasn't bored with rollerblading. But bottom line, it's like I was told that's what I should do, and I did it. And so now all of a sudden there's only so many hours in a day, and I only could do so many hours. So how can you increase your income if all of a sudden you feel like you're at a glass ceiling? You can't make any more money. And then if you're like me, it's like, I thought if I worked harder than anybody else, that I would get raises, I would get accolades, I could move up this corporate ladder. A lot of you that are watching this like me, where do you go after you're a mechanic? A mechanic? I don't know. There's no really way to go. So bottom line, I was taught the way to be successful is rely on just my efforts alone. And I pray to God, and I mean this, that I hope that something doesn't happen to you like happened to me. Just minding my own business, going to work every day, doing my best to take care of my family. And then all of a sudden, I didn't realize it, but I lost passion for what I was doing. And I was good at it. But if no one would recognize me and no one really cared, and I no longer could move up anymore, I started doing this thing where I was just showing up. I didn't have passion for it. I used to love working on race cars. And then my friends would say, well, are you coming to the track this weekend? And I was going, I worked on cars Monday through Friday. I don't want to do that. You know, I lost my love for what I did. Why? Because I turned it into a job. I turned the thing that I loved into a job. And for some of you that know my story, I got hurt. I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And as soon as that happened, guess what? Now I got someone with authority. You know those guys with jackets, they call them doctors. And, you know, I got a lot of doctors that are friends, so they'll laugh when I tell this joke. But you know the difference between a doctor and God is God doesn't believe he's a doctor. So the reason I say that is I was just at a perfect place in my life, which wasn't good. I'll talk about the thinking. But when this guy walked in with a white jacket on and he touched my knee, and he said, oh my God, you're in trouble. And I went, well, what? Well, you're not going to be a mechanic again. And you'll never walk without a limp. And I believed him. A guy in a white coat said that to me, and again, I'll talk about the pops, the realizations, is all of a sudden I went, wow, I'm not going to be a mechanic anymore. And when I realized that I couldn't be a mechanic anymore to earn income, to provide for my family, it then opened up my mind. And a mind's like a parachute. All of a sudden, I opened my mind to other ways of doing things. Now, I got exposed to the industry that I'm in now. And again, the UnStuck series have nothing to do with any one industry. But all of a sudden, I got around individuals. The guy that I met installed car stereos. He broke down tires. And like I say in my story, when I met this guy, he didn't seem anything special. What made him special, he was an average guy that was doing some extraordinary things. And when I seen that he was making 62 grand, and not only seen his check, but it was attached to his stub, I immediately, you guys, listen to me, please. I immediately go, whatever he's doing, I don't know. See, I run into a lot of people, again, that believe that they know everything. Well, here's what I knew. I knew I didn't know how to make $62,000 a month. That's one thing I knew. And so I'm the kind of individual that if a person turns around and says, wow, how do you do that? I'm the kind of guy that goes, I don't have the mental thoughts. I knew how to make $35,000 a year. That's what I knew how to do, make $35,000 a year. I didn't know how to make $62,000 a month. And so I hope this first video really gave you some insights of what I'm going to cover on the other videos. You know what I mean? So I want these videos to be very short. You can go through them again. But what I'm going to do on the next two videos is start covering some of those things that we talked about at the beginning of the video.